Good morning. Yeah, I am. I was a seeker. Though I was born and brought up in a Christian family, so my parents wanted me to take chemistry or physics, but I insisted that I should study zoology, so that I'll be able to study evolution from a closer quarter, and that's how I landed up as a teacher in zoology in a government college in Kerala. And astonishingly, I was asked to take evolution, and I taught evolution for 3 years in a postgraduate college, and therefore I had the opportunity to closely examine what is evolution, and also about the scientific basis of the argument in favor of evolution. So today my topic is science and faith. Faith is complete trust or confidence in something or someone. We have seen this definition already. I don't want to spend much more time on this slide. Two types of faiths are there. This also we saw. One is reasonable faith and the other is blind faith. Reasonable faith means a faith which is based on or which is on the foundation of reason. Without some reason, we cannot have a faith. For example, as Mr. Girish gave the example, so we are within this building because we have a reason for that. We think that this is safe because it is used for the last so many years by many people, and it is safe to come here. So for every faith, there is a reason. But there can be a blind faith which is not supported by any reason, which is just leaping into something, leaping into faith. But that is not real faith, that is blind faith. We will be talking about reasonable faith. I have a reasonable faith to do certain things. I have a reasonable foundation to believe something. I have a reasonable foundation to believe in God, to believe in Creator. So we will be talking about that reasonable faith today. So coming to another definition, science. It is the search for causes and effect. Two streams of science. One is real science, a systematically organized body of knowledge on a particular subject derived through observations and experiments. So the methodology for science is observation, either observation or experiment or both. Without experiments or observations, you cannot make a conclusion which is claimed to be scientific. A scientific conclusion has to be based on the results of observation or experiments. But there is a category of science which is known as pseudoscience, statements that claim to be scientific and factual but are incompatible with the scientific method. It is neither based on observation nor based on experiments. There are a number of scientific branches like that which are in real sense not based on observations or experiment. I told you that I am a zoology student, and astonishingly I stood first in the Kerala University at that time, which was up to Addl at that time. In evolution paper I topped in the whole university. So this is something which I closely examined. Evolution is just a pseudoscience which doesn't depend on any of the scientific methods, or it is not dependent on observation nor on experimentation. This is just speculation. There are a number of speculative sciences like that. They have the form of science, they have the appearance of science, but when you get into the core, they are just pseudosciences made based on pure speculation. So I'll come to evolution as an example, not observed nor experimentally proved. Nobody has ever proved evolution. You may be wondering, how can we prove evolution? Evolution takes place through hundreds and hundreds of years, millennia may be required. How can you prove this? How can you observe this? No, it's not like that. It can be observed. You know why? See, now we have the wherewithal to do experiments in mutation and such other things. For example, one famous scientist, Mr. Dobzhansky, He is an American scientist who conducted a number of experiments in mutation. They say that mutation is the method for causing variation, and variation is the raw material for evolution. So by inducing mutation, they say that evolution can be caused. Now, if you go to the scientific supplies in Palayam or that Tampanur area, Orbridge area, there is a scientific supplier or somebody like that. There were two shops when we were students. You can buy all these ingredients required for evolution. Mutagens, easy. Then DNA, easy. RNA, easy. Some of these things you may have to import through them. So everything is available. Now, if evolution is experimentally possible, it should be possible for a scientist to do it. If you ask them, they may say that no, it is time consuming. How can you see something which takes millennia? Or it is so gradual you cannot see. But the tools of mutation and the availability of all these basic biological materials should provide an opportunity for the evolutionists to demonstrate evolution experimentally. But nobody has ever done. I will come back to Dobzhansky. Dobzhansky at that time, when the science was not this much developed, tried to induce mutation, and he produced 1,000 types of different Drosophila. You know what is Drosophila? Very, very familiar friend to us. In Malayalam it is known as Kannicha. If you put some jackfruit or something like that, in no time many guests will come to eat of that and be entertained. So these are the Drosophila flies. He created 1,000 different varieties, kinds of Drosophila. But you know one thing? All were defective. None were reproducing. And all were Drosophila. So what happened to Dobzhansky was this, that he couldn't cross the barrier of species. If some of you is familiar with the Bible, the chapter 1 of Bible says that the Creator created everything as its own kind, its own kind, its own kind. There is a barrier, there is a boundary, it cannot be crossed. It has a kind of its own, it has a label. Exactly like that, this famous scientist produced 1,000 different varieties of Drosophila, but all remained within the barrier of the species of Drosophila. What I am saying is, evolution is not proved experimentally. It is provable. Every wherewithal is available now, but in spite of that, nobody has ever proved it nor observed it. So evolution is not a science at all. Adaptation within kinds is possible. One kind, just like Dobzhansky producing different varieties of Drosophila. Within a kind, yes, there may be subkinds developing from that, but still remaining within the border of that species. So crossing species has never been demonstrated. The example of cats, dogs, there are different varieties, but they all belong to the same species. Now I will come to some questions about faith and science. These are the major questions. What are the methods of science and faith? You are talking about science and faith. What are the methods? How do they reach at their destination? What are the methods of science and faith? Secondly, does faith and science complement or contradict? In the first half of the 21st century, when science is growing exponentially, can I be a believer and scientist? Can I come to church and go to college to attend the science class? Is science conforms to faith, or faith conforms to science, or they contradict each other? This is a very important question, and the doubts in this area makes us hypocrites, pretending to be believers in the church or temples or mosques, and pretending to be science students in the science classes. No, there is no need. We have to settle it once or forever. Are they complementary or are they contradictory? Can I, as a scientist, believe in God? Can I, as a believer, believe in science? This is the question, second important question. Then third question is, what roles does science have in creation and how it all began? Do you have any claim as a scientist to say that I have so many theories about the origin of matter, origin of energy. Science helped, origin like this, or the theories of science helped, or the laws of science helped. For example, gravitation is a law. Even before Newton explaining it, this law was there. So can I say that the law of gravitation, there is an argument by Hawkins that the gravitational force would have created everything. So can I say that? The laws of science, do they have any role in the process of creation, in the event of creation? Or faith has, is there something for the faith to talk about this particular thing? Then the last question, are miracles possible while upholding science? Quite often, the so-called scientists will challenge miracles. How can miracles happen? Only scientific things. If you heat up potassium chloride with manganese dioxide, only then you will get oxygen. It cannot come automatically. It cannot happen automatically. A powerful being cannot cause all these to happen. Miracles are not possible. This is the explanation of scientists. So we have to examine this important question, whether miracles are possible while upholding science. I'll come to scientific method first. The major scientific method is known as induction. Already certain things were talked about this particular topic. My job is easier. Logic works on deduction. Actually, true logic should work on deduction. What is deduction? See everything first and then come to a general conclusion. For example, if I say that, all stones in this world are of a particular type. Okay? All stones in the world are granite, bluish granite. If I have to make such a generalization, I should go to every nook and corner in the universe and observe every rock and record it and then analyze it and then generalize that all rocks in the world are granite, that too bluish black granite. That is in deduction, seeing every alternative and coming to a conclusion, that is deduction. But unfortunately, deduction is impossible, especially in this vast universe. Within this earth itself, deduction is impossible. So the method science used is induction. When I talk about this, the word deduction is used by Aristotle in a different meaning. What Aristotle did was to make axioms, big statements, laws, then work out downwards. But with the birth of modern science, they found that Aristotelian method is not correct. Making big laws, and under those laws, small theories and hypotheses are made. That was an Aristotelian method. But generally speaking, deduction goes from the universal to the specific. You see everything, and with all those data in hand, come to a conclusion. That is deduction. But the actual scientific method is induction. For example, if you want to study the biology of an animal, you want to study a particular frog, Rana tigrina, you cannot go to every Rana tigrina in the world and study every frog. Instead, you take one frog and conduct a few studies. Then after that, take another sample. Then another sample from some other place, and after considering maybe 5-6 Rana tigrina, you will be able to say that the biology of Rana tigrina is like this. So when millions of frogs are there in this world, you have studied a few and you have come to a conclusion. This is induction. From the specific to generic, you are from a specific thing, you go to generalization. That is induction. That is the method of science. The scientific method propagated by Francis Bacon, Galileo Galilei, and such other very eminent scientists, and interestingly, they were all Christians. Actually, the modern science was originated just because of Christians who believed that because of the fall, the earth got, the universe got distorted, and they thought that it is their responsibility through scientific methods find out the secrets of the nature. And that's how the branches of science originated. Okay, so these people used induction, used to test the premises of the argument, involves a drawing of a general conclusion from specific observation. Premises and arguments we have dealt with already. So based on samples, come to some generalization. That is induction. That is the method of science. Most conclusions in science based on induction are not absolutely certain, but highly probable. This we should remember. When we argue vehemently for science, science talk about probability only. It is highly probable that it would be like this. That is why even today, Einsteinian laws are being corrected, theories are being corrected. Everything is turned upside down. Why? Science is not absolute. By definition, science is not absolute. But when people talk about this, they think science to be absolute and giving the status of religion to science or the status of God to science. But science doesn't claim, and science cannot be, and it is only, it cannot be absolutely certain, but it can only be highly probable. Exception is perfect induction, where all the details are not known, like all words in the slide are black font color. If it is a small universe, if I say that in this slide all fonts are in black, or some fonts are in black and so many fonts are in blue, or whatever it is, I can make perfect assumptions. But in a big universe, or when I consider many samples, science can be only approximations. By this method, you are not sure beyond all doubt, but beyond a reasonable doubt only. So quite often the science students think that they have the answers for everything. No, but by definition, science give answers which are beyond a level, reasonable. Okay, understanding creation through induction. Let us use the principles of induction to understand creation. Induction can be used to help ascertain God. By looking at the effects, we can make a rational inference to the existence of a cause. So using induction or the method of science itself, we can come to the conclusion that there is a God. Quite often, the followers of science or the people who belong to the religion of science would present as if science is everything absolute. The faith and reason, all these things are just cooked up stories. But it is not other way around. Using the methodology of science, that is induction, you can come to the conclusion that with a reasonable confirmation that there is a God, much better than many of the scientific data, much better than many of the scientific theories, with a very high assurance, you can believe in God using induction. By looking at the effects, we can make a rational inference to the existence of a cause. By seeing the effects, by seeing the universe itself, my existence proves that there is a God. From the effects, we'll be able to induce or induct or come to an inductive conclusion that there is a God. I'll explain it when we come to thermodynamics more about it. Then, every painting has a painter, every book has an author. Man is much more than many books, and hence he has a maker. For anything complex, I usually ask, why should the rose flower be rose? If it is just a chance event, why should the rose flower be rose? Why should why should the chance worry about colors? Why should chance worry about intelligence? Why should chance worry about intellectuals? Why should chance need poets? Why should chance need artists? Why should chance need scientists? Why should chance need orators? No. If it is pure chance, all this complexity in the universe wouldn't have been there. Such complexities can come from a mind only or a person only. So here, when we come to the creation of man, man is much more complex than anything which we see. Living beings are much more complex than anything we see. Therefore, there should be a cause, there should be a creator. Using the method of induction, we can be sure beyond reasonable doubt about the existence of a creator, the necessity of faith. We discussed about this enough. Faith is not just belief, but trust in something based on some sound reason. Mr. Girish has explained it very well, so I don't want to dwell upon it any further. Faith is looking at the revelation of God generally in nature and specifically in history. How does faith in one creator comes? By listening to his or observing his revelation through the nature. The nature is a complex sign of existence of God. There is much to read into it, much to find in it, much to discover in it. So the revelation of nature reveals God. And also there are historical revelations of God, when God revealed himself to humanity that yes, I exist, through his prophecies, through his incarnation, through different ways God revealed himself. So revelation is a sound reason to come to good, beyond doubt, inductive reasoning. Faith depends on sound reasons. While science points to a creator beyond reasonable doubt, faith supported by valid reasons helps us to be absolutely certain of the existence of a creator. While science points to a creator beyond reasonable doubt, science itself points out to a creator. When I come to thermodynamics, I will be explaining it further. Science points to a creator. Science needs a creator. Even atheists need a creator. So they have to admit the existence of a creator. But faith related by revelation, faith created by the scriptures, faith related affirmed by the incarnation, they give more than sufficient reason to believe in the existence of a God. Does faith and science contradict or complement? We'll come to that major question. Since science helps the cause of faith in creator in the following ways. One, clearly demonstrate the beginning of the universe. Science clearly says that there is a beginning to this universe. You would have read the last article of Hawking's. Hawking's in the last article he says that yes, there is no multiverse. Yes, the universe has a beginning. It was published after his death. So even scientists like Hawking had to admit that the universe has a beginning. Now it is universally accepted, except for a few street atheists like people who may still say that there is a steady state of matter. Matter is eternal, matter is ever existing, and all. A few of them who do not know about the truth. But generally the scientific world has come to accept that there is a beginning to the universe. So that's how, point number one, science say that there is a requirement for a creator. Secondly, clearly shows the amazing precision of the universe and earth. Science reveals a precision of the universe and the earth. Everything here is totally adjusted. Suppose you are stranded in a desert, somehow got into a desert, walked for days together, there was no water, somehow reached some place, hopeless, awaiting death. Then immediately you saw a helicopter. When you got into the helicopter, every knob is adjusted. Just press one knob, the doors will close and the helicopter will fly off. What would be your presumption then? Would you think that yes, because of the hurricane and all these things, the particles in the desert collided each other and a helicopter originated, and now every button, everything is adjusted precisely. Now I can just go in and press a button and fly. Would you believe that? even no fool will believe that. Somebody should have sent this helicopter. Seeing the precision in the adjustment of the universe, the earth, the factors in this earth, one can come to only one conclusion, that there is an intelligent designer behind all this. I'll be coming to some of those points later. Just for time being, believe this. The universe is precisely adjusted. Many factors, hundreds and hundreds of factors. So when you say everything is adjusted for my existence, my survival, can I think that everything originated by chance? By the sand grains colliding each other over millions and millions and trillions of years. Finally, yes, everything originated. No fool can even think like that. Clearly shows the amazing design in life, the cell and the human body. If you examine yourself, you will find enough reasons to believe in God. One cell is smaller than the pricking tip of a needle. Very small. You cannot see with the naked eye. You have to use a microscope. In that, there is information which may require thousands of pages, maybe 1,000 volumes of Encyclopedia Britannica. In one needle prick, needle pin tip sized cell, less than that. See, we are wonderfully made. We are astonishing creations. So, when we see the amazing design, yes, we are convinced about a creator. So, science leads to God. These are not two contradictory things. Science has always been helped by people of faith who believed that physical laws were possible because of the existence of a lawmaker. There are laws in nature which we are discovering one after another. These laws were there all the time. We are just discovering those laws. We are able to discover because a lawmaker has created all those laws. Yeah, science proving the beginning of the universe. There is an there is an acronym like surging, surge of water, like that. So under that, second law of thermodynamics, universe is expanding. Radiation is in the universe. Great galaxy seeds. Einstein's theory of relativity. These 5 things. There are many more things. This is given as an acronym. Second law of thermodynamics. Many of you are science students, I am sure. You may know the second law of thermodynamics. What is that? The rate of entropy is increasing. Rate of disorder. In any closed system, the rate of disorder is increasing. So taking the universe as a closed system, in the universe also, the rate of disorder is increasing. What does it mean? Yesterday the disorder was not so much. Day before it was not so much. 1 month back it was not so much. 1,000 years back it was not so much. 10,000 years back it was not so much. So you could find out a day on which the universe was perfect, without any disorder, which means that there is a birthday for the universe when it was perfect, when there was no disorder. So science itself is pointing out to a day of origin for the universe. Likewise, first law also tells us about the same thing. First law says that a prior source is required for any matter or energy. Without prior source, nothing can originate, which means that an uncreated, eternal God is required for all things to exist. Be it an atheist or a believer or a scientist or a biologist, a doctor or engineer, advocate or whatever you are, without assuming an uncreated, eternal, metaphysical God, you cannot move an inch intellectually. If you want to move, you have to commit intellectual suicide and say that I am a fool. I don't believe in all this science. I don't believe in all this logic. I will say that no, everything came by chance or somehow it came. But science points out to a beginning to this universe. Since there is a beginning, the universe has a creator. So the laws of thermodynamics proves that. Then universe is expanding. What does it mean? There was a time when it was a single point, which means that it has a beginning. So the science itself is saying that the universe has a beginning. Therefore, it has to have a creator. Anything which has a beginning has to have a creator. Then radiation in the universe is fully filled with radiation, background radiation. They predicted it in 1948 and they finally discovered, Wilson and company, they finally discovered it in 1965. Background radiation. Why should there be radiation all through the universe? Because there was a single source of energy which dissipated all around. Science would say that it is Big Bang, and the believers would say that it is God's command, let there be. So this is a single point source of energy and radiations all around. So the radiation in the world shows the beginning of the universe. Likewise, great galaxies in between. There are small small matter, humps of matter in the universe all through, which are not already galaxies at the same time, which are still continuing. This shows that the heat in the universe is not similar. It is different. In one place it is lesser, in another place it is higher, in a third place it is different. By adjusting the temperature in the universe, somebody had planned to create so many galaxies and so many galaxy seeds and so many places without anything. It shows a plan behind the universe. Without a planner, without a designer, these galaxy seeds would have been impossible. All these galaxy seeds would have been integrated into the existing galaxies and other celestial bodies. But it is not so. So why is it so? Because the temperature caused by the radiation in the universe at different places are kept at different levels by a designer. So all this shows a designer. Then Einstein's theory of relativity. What Einstein said? Time, light, matter, space, all these things originated simultaneously. This shows that there is a beginning. Everything originated by creation. Hawking also says the same. Hawking says that at the Big Bang explosion or at singularity, there was no science. There was no scientific laws. It was only metaphysics. Metaphysics is beyond physics or beyond universe. Abhaumikamaya. In Malayalam, it is something outside the universe. So that is metaphysics. So even Hawkins accept that there was a metaphysical era. God also belongs to metaphysics. If you can believe in a metaphysical singularity, you can very well believe in a metaphysical personal God. So I'll come to the next slide. Science showing the precision of universe for life to exist. This is known as anthropic principle. I told you that everything is precisely adjusted, just like the helicopter in the wilderness. Everything is finely adjusted. If you take some of the examples are given here. Oxygen level. If the oxygen level was 5% higher, everything would have burned out. Had it been 5% lesser, we wouldn't have lived. There would have been not enough. Everything. For example, atmospheric transparency. If the transparency was lesser, more light would have come. If the transparency was more light would have come. If it was lesser, the plants wouldn't have survived. Everything is adjusted. Then carbon dioxide level. Is carbon dioxide important? Yes, we respire because there is carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. Otherwise, we will not, because the brain will not be able to ask our lungs to take oxygen. The brain will stop functioning if carbon dioxide is not there. So everything is important, and the burning, non-burning balance also kept like that. Then gravity, 980 G and all. If it is lesser by 5%, we would bump off. If it is more than the existing level by 5%, we will be stick to the surface of the earth. So naturally, these things are hundreds of such parameters are studied. If these are all finely tuned, there should be an intelligent designer behind this. After seeing helicopter, if I say that it originated by hurricane working on sand grains, it is foolishness. After seeing the intricacies of the creation, intricacies of whatever is existing, if I continue to say that it originated by chance, I can say that it is just pure foolishness. It is about protein. For a one-celled organism to originate, somebody calculated the probability. It is 1 in 10 raised to 40,000. How many particles in this universe? Atoms, electrons, protons, everything together. How many particles? 10 raised to 80. What is this number? 10 raised to 40,000. Can you think about it? This cannot be assumed even. So Fred Hoyle says that the chance for a single simple cell to originate by the forces of evolution, the chance is out of so high a number 1. If I say that after an examination I have a 1% chance to succeed, what would you think? I think that I will definitely pluck. If I say that I have 0.1% of succeeding in the examination, we'll just ignore. If I say that I have 1 raised to 10, 1 in 10 raised to 10 chance, you would think that this fellow is not going to make at all in any millennia. If it is 10 raised to 100, what about this number? This is too improbable. Who calculated this? You know this? You know this fellow? Fred Hoyle. Fred Hoyle is the person who formulated steady state theory to support atheism. He is an atheistic scientist. He says that by your definition, if a single cell has to originate, the chance is 1 in 10 raised to 40,000. That is the figure. The odds of creating all proteins for a minimal simple one-celled organism calculated in 83 by Fred Hoyle is 1 in 10 raised to 41,000. Astronomical figure. Unlikely, impossible. It will never happen. That's what he is saying. Science showing wonder of law. This is about DNA. 4 bases are there in a DNA molecule, but this is included in a pinpoint sized cell nucleus, and it may require maybe 10,000 complete sets of Encyclopedia Britannica to cover all this information. If I have to write like this fellow having this cell should have grey hair, should grey his hair at the age of 40 in the lower part. He should become bald at the age of 35. He should have brown eyes. He should have 6 feet height. If I have to write all these in usual language, it will take so many books of encyclopedia. We are very, 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 very astonishingly, wonderfully created, amazing creations. Everywhere, the intelligence, the brilliance of the Creator is visible. Francis Crick once lamented. You know who this Francis Crick is? The person who discovered the model for DNA along with Watson. An honest man, armed with all the knowledge available to us now, could only state that in some sense, the origin of life appears at the moment to be almost a miracle. This fellow is saying that after contributing so much to science, he himself is an atheistic scientist. He says that in spite of Darwinism, in spite of all evolutionary theories, the origin of life is almost a miracle. Yes, it is true. It is a miracle committed by a creator, that is God. The fundamental laws of science were all laid down by people who believed in a creator who is wise and indebted his creations to study his works. Almost 64% of the Nobel laureates are believers up to now. Take care. The father of any branch of science, he or she is a believer. Galileo, believer. Galileo said human mind is a work of God. Kepler, he said the chief aim of investigations of our whole external world should be to discover the rational order which has been imposed on it by God. Then Isaac Newton, counsel and dominion of an intelligent and powerful being. The universe shows the counsel and dominion of an intelligent, powerful being, that is God. Many scientists who contributed much to science, I will not dwell upon much on that. Science was not the work of Western secularists or even deists. It was entirely the work of devout believers in an active, conscious creator God. Rodney Starr is a science historian. He says that science was contributed mainly by believers. Kelvin, Pasteur, Volta, Röntgen, all these people, Linnaeus, they were all believers. Now coming to some skeptics. Einstein was not a pure believer in God. He believed that there is a power. Albert Einstein, a reluctant finder of arguments that supported God. Einstein called his discovery of beginning of universe irritating. When he had to admit that the universe has a beginning, he said that it is true, but it is irritating. Why? Because it doesn't support his skepticism in God. Einstein called his cosmological constant, which he introduced to avoid the beginning, the greatest blunder of my life. Einstein manipulated by theory by adding a constant to his equation. Later, he found that no, the universe is not eternal. The universe has a beginning. Then he dropped this and confessed that it was a big blunder. To know God, to know how God created the world, I am not interested in this or that phenomenon, in that spectrum of this or that element. I want to know his thought. The rest are details. I want to know the thought of the creator God, that's all. Science without religion is lame. Religion without science is blind. This is a famous statement of Einstein. Though he was not a traditional believer, he was a skeptic, and he didn't want a creator God with his will and all. He didn't want it to be not there, but still these are the testimonies. Many more testimonies of skeptics. I'll skip those things. Science and creation. To recap, science is a search for causes and effect. Science works by observation and inference. Science can demonstrate the effects of the first cause. Today, science concludes that time, space, and matter came together at the same instant. The laws of science originated after the beginning. Science cannot speak to identify the first cause, as it is beyond the experimental bounds of science. Science cannot demonstrate God, prove God, unprove God, disprove God, or anything like that. It doesn't have any authority, no terms of reference. Faith speaks to the identity of the first cause. In the beginning, God created the heavens and earth. Thus, faith and science together worked to complete the puzzle of the world we live together. Faith and science, when it works together, or faith and reason, when it works together, can give us clues about the universe in which we live. Now we'll come to the last point. Miracles. Should there be miracles? Miracles are aberrations violating the known laws at specific point of history. Should there be miracles? Many scientists or the people who belong to the religion of scienticism, they say that no, I cannot believe in any miracle. But if you ask them, how did the energy for the whole non-universe came into existence? How did it come? Do they have any answer? There is a rough estimation that for the non-universe to originate, 1 followed by 50,000 zeros, such a vast number of bombs equivalent energy should have been there. 1 followed by 50,000 zeros. In the entire universe, the total number of the particles is 1 followed by 80 zeros. Here it is a number 1 followed by 50,000 zeros. So many bombs. TNT equivalent to so many bombs. That much of energy would have been created or formulated or produced to create this non-universe. Beyond this non-universe also, the boundary is yet to be discovered. So for the non-universe, I am saying, I am telling you, 1 followed by 50,000. We can count numbers up to maybe 1 followed by 15 zeros, 16, maybe 17 crore. After that, we will not be able to make any sense. Think about this number, 1 followed by 50. So many bombs equivalent, TNT. So much of energy was created. Is it a miracle? Yes. The first cause, the uncaused cause, the cause of all the causes, that God, through a fiat of miracle, act of miracle, created the energy required for this universe. Can a scientist say that no, it is not true? No. He cannot say because he has no other explanation. Can an atheist say that no, this is not true? This came into existence by itself. He is violating the laws of thermodynamics. He is violating everything. He is violating science. Science says that the universe has a beginning. But the atheists say that no. It existed always without contradicting science, without contradicting logic, without contradicting common sense. No atheist can say that there is no God. No scientist can say that there is no God. So the world needs a creator. So who did the miracle of creating the universe? Primary question is, who created the universe? Did the universe create itself from nothing? No, we saw that. Or did an uncreated, eternal, personal first cause create the universe? Yes. An uncreated, eternal, personal, first cause should have created the universe. The first cause is whom we call God. Once the first cause is accepted, we can consider miracle as aberrations performed by God in His intervention to mankind or in the universe. So God is free to do miracles whenever it was necessary. In His reckoning, He did miracles. Miracles are possible. Miracles are to be accepted by everybody, irrespective of faith. Frank Morrison, an atheist, investigated and found resurrection should be true and wrought. Who moved the stone? He was in the beginning he was an atheist, but finally he wrote a book saying that the miracle of resurrection is probable. So some books are in the area, faith to be an atheist. I don't have enough faith to be an atheist. Norman Geisler, then Sproul, not a chance. Evidence that demands verdict. Josh McDowell, different books. You have any number of books in this area. Some of the books are short. So I'll forego with the conclusion. Anyway, I think that I clarified what I wanted to clarify. So thank you very much. There is a creator. He is a moral being. He is an intelligent being. He is a person. He is the first cause. He is the uncaused cause. He is the eternal cause. Such a cause is essential for everybody, irrespective of faith. Whether you are an atheist or a believer or a scientist or whatever it is, such a creator is needed. Our responsibility is to know this creator and follow his decisions. Thank you, one and all. Thank you for the patient here.